My brain's splitting off in so many different directions. My brain's splitting off in so many different. My brain's splitting off in so many different directions that no one has the answers to. My dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? Questions that no one has the answers to.
I'm Jeremy Green.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where me and Gary talk about all things Marvel, specifically the X-Statix series that evolved from X-Force. We're having a good time. We're solving problems. We're solving the world's problems. Gary, you watched all that new Marvel trailer stuff, I'm sure.
I did.
I watched all of the available clips last night when I was laying in bed. What was your vibe on that, like, Falcon Winter Soldier show?
I don't understand what is interesting about it. That was out of all of them, that's the least interesting one, I think. Like, I like that guy who plays Falcon.
Yep.
I think he's fun. It showed action that was like kind of TV show impressive, but I'm comparing it to the movies. Mm-hmm. So, who cares? And is that the same Bucky guy? Is that the Winter Soldier guy?
That is
with a different haircut, or
that's the same.
That's
dude.
the actor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, like he looks real different to me, and I've always hated him in the movies. I always thought that guy sucks. I was here for what he was doing for the plot. Mm-hmm. Like I love Civil War. I love Winter Soldier, the movie Winter Soldier. But I always thought that like broody kind of asshole was not very interesting. He's barely in the later movies. It's like this guy doesn't have enough of a personality, really. So I don't know. Out of all of them, is the least interesting looking one.
Yeah, it's it felt like a very and I know it is a dated premise because they've been doing movies like that forever. But like I got real big 48 Hours or Rush Hour, or you know what I'm saying? Like I got Lethal Weapon, like just real big buddy cop energy out of it. And if there was no interesting villains showed or no real interesting setup, so like if it's just like drug cartels, like how fucking boring would that be, right? Like
one guy who can fly and one guy who can't fights drugs.
Yeah. Can't believe this cocaine dealer has a helicopter. Guess I gotta fly through a cliff.
It's my time to shine.
Yeah,
don't
Bucky,
worry.
What are you
He's
doing?
also got a car.
Don't call me Bucky.
It's not very interesting. The rest of them I was kind of surprised by. I'm surprised they're doing a secret invasion show. That's weird.
Wait, which is the secret invasion show? Is that the?
There's no trailer for it, but they just talked about it.
Oh,
it's
okay.
The Skrull and Nick Fury.
Oh, weird.
From the end of Captain Marvel. That's interesting to me, and the What If show looks cool to me. I'll watch an animated series that's because I have a weakness for those comics.
I mean, I think the best thing about the What If stuff is it's so brief. Like, you don't get 10 issue arcs, so it's just like, what if Spider-Man was a black guy? I don't know. That would be weird.
The internet would freak out.
Yeah.
And I think the two coolest looking ones though are WandaVision and Loki.
Yeah. I thought
those look really cool.
A long time ago they released that Loki logo, and it's like the 4 letters of Loki all being kind of stylized differently, and everybody was like, this fucking sucks, like why would you ever do this? And now seeing that it's going to be like some weird multiverse bullshit thing happening, I'm way more into it. Is because they talk about in that trailer something about the TVA. Do you know what that is? Is that a thing?
No.
Okay, cool.
Not that I know
didn't think
of.
It was.
I haven't read Thor comics though, really, to any appreciable degree, so I don't know. Not really a Thor guy. Weird flex, I know, but it's just kind of the case.
Okay, Gary, dial it down a little bit.
You dial it down. I don't mean to fire off the cannon indoors, but
every episode, you don't have to talk about how much you hate Thor.
Yeah.
But we can talk about how much you love X-Statix.
I do.
We have a new issue with the entire team all stuffing themselves into a bathroom stall. Which is going to make sense given the things on the issue. But we have a new artist, and I'm kind of divided on this artist, Gary.
Paul Pope.
Yeah.
Is this guy who is an indie artist. largely, or like kind of like borderline indie artist, but not somebody who worked a lot in superhero stuff. I mostly know Paul Pope from DC released a series of books called Solo, where there would be like one kind of prestige artist would do the whole thing, and they'd be able to just like do short stories with whatever characters they wanted. And I remember the Paul Pope one getting really good reviews. There was a Darwin Cook one and a Mike Allred one that I really liked. But I got the Paul Pope one and couldn't really click with it. Like I have a hard time with this guy. I think it does make me think that Mr. Sensitive in a movie should be played by Adam Driver, though. So that's what this taught me.
100%.
Does he look like him?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he kind of makes all the people look like Adam Driver, but I'm not super into this artist. Okay. It's kind of a bummer to me that the arc wrapped up with this. Like, it's okay. It's definitely stylized though. And it's muddier. Like the coloring is a big part of why I like Mike Allred. Because he does these like big, bright, flat colors. And this ends up just being a little bit like grungier.
Yeah.
In a way that I'm not super into.
And everybody's kind of like melting constantly.
Yeah.
And I know that's like Fat's thing, but like on the very first page, like the very first panel is Spike, and he's just looking like he's like weirdly bumpy in ways that are not entirely pleasant.
It would look good for like a 3-panel, like funny comic. It's weird for a comic.
Yeah.
To me. It's also kind of shows that Guy Smith is apparently 1.5 feet taller than Spike.
Sure.
Which is real weird.
Unless Spike is sitting down on the toilet, right? Like, is that the implication?
Yeah, that's a weird flex though. Like,
yeah,
because they're meeting in a stall. The reason they're doing this is because Dupe can scramble Arnie's like psychic powers in a small area. And just like, it's like you're meeting with the dude in a stall. Like, you don't sit down. Like, that's so casual. Like,
that would be, I mean,
okay.
if you do like huge flex, like if you think you have that much power, where like you sit down and get comfortable and like lean back. And
welcome to my office.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
If you welcome my office, welcome someone to your office, that would be like huge.
But basically he's just like, Guy's letting him in on the plan. Like, it's ridiculous that we allowed Arnie to join the team, but we had to. Like, he's really unstable. We don't know the extent of his powers. We had to play along with him. And we're going to keep his identity a secret. That's how we're going to sell this to the public.
I love the dialogue of this. Is like, how are we going to stop everyone from knowing? He's like, I've got a crazy idea. It just might work. We're going to put a mask on him.
Yeah, very good. And this is the introduction of his alter ego, the mysterious fanboy. With his real weird outfit.
Yep.
For his masks. The latest recruit, we cut over, that's like, he has no track record. The X-Statix hype machine is staying quiet. We don't know anything about this person. Is he supposed to be an ironic comment on the average X-Statix fan? And we cut over to Lacuna watching this. She doesn't know who he is, which is going to kind of cause the problem to happen here later.
We see Lacuna seeing this, and then we immediately go over to our team HQ, where Anarchist is worried about his butt looking too big. And I love Dead Girl's like, you just got a high buttocks. Like, I don't know what you. It's not NBD, dude. You just got high buttocks.
Yeah, don't worry about it. As they're doing this, the whole point of the scene is like, Fanboy is like seeing how the team works. Yeah, and he's like shocked by it. He's like, oh, the Anarchist is vain. Fat gives him a little bit of shit, and they start kind of sparring and like, fighting. And he's just like, they're fighting each other. And I love Guy Smith here. Like, this isn't fighting. It's not real. We do this to keep ourselves razor sharp. It's like play with a deadly purpose. He's like, oh, so you actually secretly like each other. We dig each other. We're like brothers and sisters, as the Anarchist throws like acid sweat into
Fat's eyes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Vivisector is just glugging down what looks like a bottle of Jaeger in the background.
Yeah. Yep. Arnie like looks out on his fans. He's like, oh, they love us. And he's like, no, they don't. They hate us. Like, they're waiting for us to fall. So, when we crack open, they want to see. Like, oh, this is a celebrity. And Arnie starts getting dubious. He's like, I don't like this. This isn't what I thought the team would be. The rumors of you guys being spoiled rotten are true. And as he's doing it, he's closing the esophaguses of all of the team. Like Guy Smith says, I can feel my esophagus healing up. Like he's like literally mending flesh to close their throats, which is really scary. And he's just like, I gotta think of something. Why don't we all go to lunch? And this distracts Arnie. Yeah. Oh, you mean somewhere trendy? And then there's again a comedy page turn was they're all meeting in the stall all together.
And basically just being like, hey, like this is, why don't we just we have to deal with this situation. Why don't we just try to figure out like Venus volunteers to port him somewhere and be like, I'll just dump him somewhere. Like that seems really easy. He's like, wow, that's really mean. Like, no, we're gonna figure this out together. Like he's really he's really trying to make this a team problem. Guy Smith is.
Yeah. And we have to pretend like we have to do the kayfabe. Speaking of alpha moves, Ty Gallagher flushes the toilet while they're all standing around in there. It's also just like, I don't know. I haven't done very many toilet meetings, but like, that's a weird move. But basically we have to pretend. So they go to eat at a place, and it's the narration says, welcome to the chimpanzees tea party. Do you know that chimpanzees have to be trained to be naughty and throw their food? It's like basically like this is, again, it's all a show.
Yeah.
As they're kind of sitting around gossiping, kind of trying to pump them up, Lacuna shows up and says, can I join you? And she offers to put Arnie on her show. Like, you can reveal your secret identity on the show. And Guy Smith is like, no way, you can join us, get lost. Venus, teleport us out of here.
I love this line where he's like, no, we can't teleport away. I haven't finished my creme brulee. And he's like, you're in the X-Statix now. These are the kind of sacrifices you'll have to make as like they're teleported away.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's very funny.
But Lacuna's not going to leave this lie.
No.
She waits a little while. She can slip in and out of time. Like she's stalking them. And she's noticing it's weird. Like they're all being very nice to each other. This is really odd. And when she goes, she peels off his mask. While he's eating a gross slice of pizza. It looks how the Ninja Turtles eat pizza, where the cheese is just like endlessly gooey. And shows it on her TV show that it's Arnie and spills the secret. And this obviously causes a huge controversy.
I love, and then, of course the press are now hounding Guy Smith about this. And he's like, he made an error, because this dude killed 2 people. Like he managed to undo most of his problem, most of the damage he did in the town, but 2 people were still dead. And of course, everybody has a bunch of trauma. And he's like, the law doesn't cover these kind of things. Like this is superhero stuff. And it's like, do you mean that X-Statix is above the law? And he's like, what? Well, it's like, if Osama bin Laden had superpowers, would you consider him for the team? And I'm like, God damn.
Yeah. Which would be pretty cool.
Yes.
I think that'd be a funny X-Statix story arc. They go back to the team, they're watching this, and it's just, Arnie is like, why couldn't they mind their own business? Like, I can't believe they did that. I'm going to go down to the TV and teach them a lesson. And he blows up the television set here, and they have to calm him down again. Like, hey, who cares what they think as long as we stick together? Like, you're on the team. We stick together. Again, because if they don't do this, he's going to close all their throats. And he's like, Arnie says, well, we need a mission. And Spike says, okay, I'm going to see if I can find something not complicated. Let's do it. While this is happening, Guy goes to go talk to Lacuna and basically recruit her to do a secret thing that we're going to find out later. And basically chides her, like, why couldn't you leave well enough alone? Like, you made a bad situation worse, and now you're going to help me get out of it.
On the first panel of this page, like on the outside of her door, she's got like an autographed picture that says like to Lacuna XSOO. It says rocks. Are you?
Yeah, I don't know who that is. Like Baron Underbite or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's a weird, like it's a very specific thing, and I was just curious if you happen to know what it is. I meant to look it up today, and then I just got distracted by terrible dogs.
Yeah, Frankenstein or something. I don't know. It's real weird. But he's basically bullying her into doing this.
Yes.
We
cut over to this jail cell in Louisiana. And this super villain that has retractable razor sharp bone claws and horns, titanium enhanced exoskeleton, tectonic plates of macromolecular concrete for flesh, liquid nitrogen for blood, all of this like crazy over the top bullshit, known as the Widowmaker, the Soul Thief, the Pain Broker, aka Razorhead, who escapes. And of course, this is going to be the mission that X-Statix has to go to, is to go catch him.
Yeah, in the bayou. Yep, they go to the bayou. We get our second thing in the series where somebody has snuck along for a teleportation, and the person teleporting them is like, "Oh, it's a little heavier than it should have been." It notices that. Arnie isn't feeling good during this.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I think he's close, but he's not doing too. I'm not doing too well. I'm feeling a little lightheaded." And then Razorhead pops out. They attempt to fight him, but he takes down a couple of them, kind of right away.
Anarchist sweat acid doesn't really work at all. The dead girl just immediately gets cut in half. Vivisector gets broken. And then, Guy Smith gets knocked out. Like, this is not going well for our heroes. And this is when Arnie steps up and like basically dissolves this monster as it stands.
Yeah, like blows up his head.
Yeah.
As they're doing this, Guy's like, "Hey, you saved us. You saved X-Statix." And Arnie knows he's dying. He's like, "You'll tell them I did good, right? Like, it's my heart. My heart is real bad. I could do all that stuff, but I could never change my heart, and I could never change my face." He says, as he's dying, Guy Smith's like, "Well, we'll tell them that X-Statix was saved by the mysterious fanboy." And Ty Gallagher says, "Are we really going to say that?" He goes like, "What do you think?" And we go to the goodbye party mysterious fanboy funeral special on Channel 5.
Yeah. And of course, like, this entire funeral has turned into a media circus because, it was leaked that X-Statix would be there to say goodbye. And of course, like, they're not.
Yeah.
And Tyga's like, this makes us feel like we're, an actual team. Like, we're actually pretending to be a team. I think it's maybe we'd be a better place if we kept doing this. And then they all just like crack up laughing. Like, absolutely not. Like, we have to start dissing each other again. Yeah.
This is what we are.
Yeah.
We cut over to the actual funeral where Guy Smith is there, and they basically reveal this thing. He had this weakness, this hole in a malformed left ventricle. That's the thing he picked up when he was in his first room. She's thanking him for this, basically saying like, "Thank you for making his last few days happy." And he's saying he only let him join the team hoping that his heart would explode before he did anything horrible.
He's saying that in his mind, not to not to the grieving mom.
Well, this worked out about basically how I hoped.
This is what I meant to do.
Yeah. Very, very, very funny and very dark. Like, because as we're going to find, as we reveal to Lacuna and Guy walking down the beach, where she's calling him out, like, "What you made me do, like, I've never killed anybody before." And we kind of learn the plan, like she injected something into him between moments during the fight.
I like this beach scene a lot. Like, this seems like really just like realistic, like just this conversation of them like, let's go to this kind of private place and have this like kind of big conversation and she's not like super happy with him. And of course he's like, we had to do this. And like, and he's like, I didn't want to do it. Like, I don't like killing people, but there was really the only option. Like, he could have completely destroyed the fucking world if we had let him. Like, this was the only way. And she's accusing him of changing, of like, the old Guy Smith would never have done this. And they get interrupted, of course, because they, random tourists are like, "Oh my God, it's Lacuna and Guy Smith." And they're like, "Get the fuck out of here." And they're like, "Ooh, these mutants. Wow."
Yeah, these guys are assholes. They think they're royalty. Mm-hmm. They won't talk to us random beach people. But her point is kind of valid. She's like, you were the Guy Smith who like said, "Damn it all," and saved Paco Perez. And he's like, well, maybe I have changed. I've watched all my teammates die. Maybe I'm not equipped for this anymore. And he quits. He quits the team. He's like, "I'm no longer Mr. Sensitive. I'm no longer the orphan. I'm just Guy Smith." And he walks away, and she calls and cancels Spielberg off of her show because something bigger has come up.
And because she found out Spielberg likes 15-year-old girls.
Does he?
There was a.
Did I miss a coming out thing?
I mean, not really like a thing, but like there was a conversation between him and Lucas that got published at some point where they were like, "Oh yeah, the love interest in Indiana Jones, like it has to be a young girl, like it has to be like a 15-year-old girl, like when she meets him, like that's what makes it hot or whatever." And I was like, "Ugh, dude,
oh jeez,
yeah, like that's what's gonna make the future relationship super great." And I'm like, this sounds,
that's not great. I missed that. My Star Wars filter stopped me from seeing that.
It filters out Indiana Jones news.
Yeah, well, I bet you I have George Lucas muted.
I'm sure you do.
On there, like I don't care. Like, oh, I like that guy, but not for his Star Wars stuff. I'm a big 1138 guy. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yes,
that's grody.
This is the end of the issue. This is the end of, also the end of the arc as well. So I had not read this because I think I only read the first 4 issues of this. So I had read up to the point where he joins the team, and I was like, is this dude going to be a regular? Like, this kid seems insane.
That'd be real weird.
And I was very shocked by the turn. Like, Guy still seems to be out of control a bit from Edie's death, and we've talked about it a lot, how Edie's death is such a huge shadow over the series and over these characters, and it keeps coming up in really interesting ways about, and like really maybe not realistic but like impactful ways, right? Like him having to deal with this to begin, and making the decision to kill him and all of this other stuff like feels directly related to him not understanding how to live in the shadow of Edie's death, and with all of this responsibility that he has on top of it. And it's just kind of fascinating.
Yeah. Well, and it leads really well into the next arc.
Yes.
Where like Guy has kind of hit rock bottom. Like this feels really well observed, where like the whole team kind of rock bottomed and he had to hold it together. And then as soon as like this crisis is done, he's like, fuck, man. You know, like I have been carrying the shoulder of this team. They're shouldering the burden of this whole team for this whole thing. Like now I need to rest. You know, that kind of like responsibility can fuck you up, quite a bit. So that gives him his own little arc. And we get Venus de Milo's kind of backstory in her arc. And the next arc has all of the Professor X being incredibly horny for young mutants fucking. And it's very funny. Like this is one of my favorite Professor X's that's ever been written in an X comic.
100%. This is really funny to me.
Back to back. It is all really good and funny to me. So good shit.
Excellent.
Yeah. We appreciate you people listening.
We do.
You guys are great as well.
I've seen some traffic on Twitter. Some people were recommending the show on Twitter. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been doing that. If you want to leave us some ratings and reviews, that could be super helpful for us. We'd appreciate it.
If you like Jeremy was on an episode of Orb recently.
Yeah.
Our Venture Brothers podcast. We talked about Ice Station Impossible.
If you don't like
with
Jeremy,
the Fantastic Four,
and you like the Venture Brothers, you might have that's only a third of the podcast. Like, and I didn't talk a whole lot. So.
Well, I always get self-conscious about talking over people on that show. It's just really easy for me and anybody, like me and Cole or me and Will or anybody I regularly podcast with. Like if you and I had a guest, I would also feel really self-conscious about talking over them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because the rhythm gets really easy.
Chris and I do one guest every like 20 something episodes of Monster of the Week. And it's like, we always have a lot of fun with it. And it's, it always ends up being a great episode, but there's definitely like, and we usually spend about an hour talking before we actually start the podcast itself, just to get comfortable. But it's always a little weird because I'm like, I go into director mode where I'm like, guest, how do you feel about this? Like where I never have to do that on like with you. I'm never like, Gary, tell me how you feel about this thing.
Well, when we used to do guest on Watch Out for Fireballs, we had to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing, right? Like it's not, people, if they're not podcasters and stuff, like I'm not calling them out for that, but it always felt a little weird to just be like, hey, this is what we thought. What do you think? And them just be like, yeah, that's about right. I thought that was cool, and like, okay.
Okay.
Like, cool. And then kind of continue on. Like, it was always just a little bit weird. There's like a lot of, of good podcasts are about that kind of like comfort and rhythm, I think. And that is a hard thing to get easily.
And it's,
it takes time.
It takes a lot of time to like learn when people are going to stop talking and whatnot. Chris told me one time that now when he's in meetings, like conference calls and stuff, he finds himself going, to make sure that like people in the conference call know he's still there. He's like, I don't think I need to do that. But that always cracks me up.
Totally.
But yeah, like it's always like, can you imagine? Just to make sure that we're connected, right? Like the call didn't drop. That's the reason I think I like podcasts that are recorded in person. Like I think those have just by default have a more natural like rhythm, and they're more interesting to listen to. There's several podcasts I listen to. Well, I did before COVID happened, and nobody's getting together to record fucking podcasts about horror movies. But yeah. Anyway,
and that's always the Duckfeed weakness. That's our Achilles heel.
Y'all recorded a couple in person. I mean, obviously at the shows, but I think didn't y'all do like one in a hotel room or something?
We did a couple in a hotel room. Mm-hmm. Just take that out of context.
Yeah.
Good night.